Woj is reporting that Lonzo Ball may need a third surgery on his knee, sources are telling ESPN, and that the recovery would be required with this third surgery, could last up to 6 months. Sources are telling ESPN. So Lonzo Ball, if you're a Bulls fan, he has not played for the Bulls since January 14th, 2022. The Bulls were having a great season last year until that happened. It's been 14 months since that time. Lonzo hasn't even progressed past light running, which is quite crazy. You know, the one thing you look at this, everyone is different, obviously. But in today's day and age with sports science and the health and the diet that NBA players, professional athletes have, like what we continue to see in almost all of sports is the timeline for recovery for injuries continues to shorten. The runway continues to get less and less each year that progresses because we have better sports science. We know what goes into this stuff. A player, ACL, he'll be back in 8 to 9 months. And then you find out, well, it's really going to be like 7. And then he's going to start playing. He'll have to play a couple games in the G League. And then boom, guys are back on the court. They're ready to go. And I know each and every sport is a little bit different, but here you go. Lonzo Ball is set to have a third surgery on his knee. Sources are telling ESPN. That's wild news today.
Yeah, and it sucks for him. It sucks for the Bulls organization who invested in him and thought he would be a key piece and what they needed for their 3-point shooting and was going to be the starting point guard for this team. And you can say a lot of the offensive issues have to do with not having a point guard and not having enough 3-point shooting. But the biggest problem to me with this front office is that this is out there, right? Like, that Lonzo's not capable of playing. It's not like all the news we have been getting from Lonzo has been trending in the direction of not being able to play this season. Every time we hear about Lonzo, it seems to be another setback. It's never, well, he's progressing really well. He's been cleared for contact. He's doing this. Oh, we've got optimism. We've got, like, when AK came out for the post trade deadline, it wasn't, hey, guess what, guys? Lonzo's going to resume basketball activities in 2 weeks, and then he's going to be back for a playoff push with 20 games left, right? It's never been that. So why didn't you adjust? Why didn't you pivot? That's been my biggest problem is you don't have a starting point guard. You know that you are all you have to do is look it up. It's not hard to find. You attempt the least amount of threes in the NBA, but you believe you're a playoff team.
It is possible, to answer your question, that the Bulls and Lonzo's camp may be on different pages. Like, it is possible the reason the Bulls didn't pivot is because they thought, based on what the surgery was and based on the timetable that one goes through when recovering from the surgery, that Lonzo would be ready for the start of this season. It is possible that the Bulls could have thought that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they didn't pivot, is because theoretically, you have a knee injury in January of last year. You have the entire offseason to recover, rehab. And then, if the first couple of months, if you're not there, but you're on the verge of being able to fully participate, then why would you need to pivot? You would have your guard back. You would have that shooting guy back. It wouldn't be something that you'd have to do. I think now it's becoming a situation where we've discussed it with this team. They know what they are with this group. You can't wait around for Lonzo to someday maybe play basketball again to then see if this group has it to compete. So I would imagine this offseason, it's all being blown up and that they're going to have to try and do something dramatic to try and figure out a way to win.
I don't think you needed to do a huge pivot and bring in make a huge splash, but you needed a contingency plan. Goran Dragic is not a good enough contingency plan because even if he did come back, even if the Bulls were saying, hey, look, it's a knee injury. Like, Levine has some knee issues after all of his, when he came back, it was still like, hey, it's sore sometimes. Like, I got to manage it and play and try to manage playing with pain. It's a knee injury. Knee injuries tend to linger for a little bit. So you needed a contingency plan. You needed something in place that wouldn't just completely take away your 3-point shooting and scoring.
I wonder if there's a play this offseason for the Bears to look at Fred VanVleet.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be a free agent. He'll have a player option for $22 million, 22.8. I would imagine he'll pass that up and he'll hit the free agent market. he's from the area locally. I wonder if Fred VanVleet will be a target for the Bulls. And I know that necessarily making the money work of just acquiring VanVleet and then having the group that you currently have constructed, I don't know if that works based on the numbers. But I wonder if because I feel like a lot of the complaints, he would answer that, right?
Yeah.
He can shoot from the outside. He's a point guard. He's a good player. He's turned himself into a really nice player for the Raptors. I wonder if that's a player that they'll have an eye on in the offseason to try and fix that, while at the same time trying to figure out what to do with Zach, DeMar, and Vooch. Because I don't think as your three best players that gets it done. If you add VanVleet, if you're able to figure it out, keep those three, add VanVleet, like, is that team even a top 5 team in the Eastern Conference? The East is pretty good. There are some talented teams at the top. The moves are not obvious for this group to get to the next level.
Well, they could be, though. Has there been too much damage done internally to keep this group together? We heard about the fights in the locker room. We heard about Vooch saying now that if it hasn't clicked, then it's not going to click. We see the disconnect between Billy Donovan and Zach LaVine at times. We see the guy that they brought in, Patrick Beverley, who's trying to rile up the team and get them to care again. They're already starting to tune him out. So has there been too much damage already done to this roster internally that you have to get rid of some of these pieces? And what are those pieces that you have to get rid of? Like, if your star player, if your max player and your coach are not getting along, one of them has to go, right?
You would think so. I would imagine the way this plays out, if we're playing the guessing game, I would imagine as we head towards the summer, we're going to get the rumor that Zach LaVine's not happy and he wants out. I would imagine that that's the next shoe to fall.
And that might be,
I think that might be all that you have
to do, right? You could be, hey, DeMar gets along with Vooch and Caruso, and you bring in VanVleet, like you said, and he's there, and then you add another, you make up the money somewhere else where you try to add another star player, but you have to make it work somehow. And I'm just wondering if at this point, with all the quotes that are starting to come out, because now Vooch isn't even trying to hide it. Like, that's not sources. That is Vooch saying in a press thing, saying, if it's not going to click, it's probably not going to click.
Yeah, sometimes it just doesn't work.
Yeah.